In this episode, we are going to be exploring what it's like being an expat in a foreign country, which I think we're both pretty big experts at. So, everyone, I'm so excited to introduce to you my beautiful mom, Sally.
Hi, thank you very much.
I personally still see her as 42 years old, but would you like to tell everyone how old you really are?
You're biased.
A little bit.
I'm 62.
You look amazing for
Thank you.
62.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mom, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what makes Sally?
What makes Sally Sally? Well, that is a very deep question, Victoria. Who I am is a mum to two incredible adult children. Victoria's older brother, Nick, and her. And I have a favourite son and a favourite daughter. I'm happy that my mum lives with us too. My mum's going to be turning 90 this year, and so it's a house full of love. Sadly, we lost Victoria and Nick's dad just over 9 years ago. So I was widowed at quite a young age. Very fortunate to have found love again with Mark, loving life and really living life to the full, because I'm appreciating every moment. Love my family first and foremost. Another love of mine is Arsenal, which
Yay!
you've inherited. I am a Gooner, and I have been ever since I was little. My dad brought me up as an Arsenal supporter.
That's right, Cole, let me just hold it there, because so many people are like, oh, you just support Arsenal now because you're doing well this year. That is not true. Tell them I have been a supporter since I could walk.
When you were born, I just said you didn't have a choice. It was Arsenal.
True.
Because I didn't have a choice, and I'm so glad. And it isn't just because we are doing so well at the moment.
Because we've had years of doing terrible.
I have been through the lean years, the mean years, the good, the bad, the
Invincibles.
ugly, the Invincibles. I love spending time with friends. I love to travel, and I love Cornwall.
My gosh.
This is so
the
true.
bane of my life. You talking about Cornwall?
I just love it. The wild, beautiful part of the UK, which is Cornwall, which I love to go on holiday there. The other thing I suppose about me is that I've run my own business for over 40 years.
Yeah.
Quit my job when I was 21 and went self-employed. So I love being my own boss. I am.
So do I, actually.
I'm unemployable because I wouldn't want to work for anyone.
You and I do work a lot with a bunch of different projects and things like that, and we work really well because as much as we are we're also opposite. So I feel like in all of the areas you're weak, I'm strong. In all the areas I'm weak, you're incredibly strong, and we just work so well. And it is a privilege, really, to work with you.
But in the business arena, I feel like I'm the lead person, and you're secondary. I don't mean that in a rude way,
but
it's
true.
because
I'm
I've got
happy about that.
the experience in that. Now you are totally the lead person, and I'm secondary. So
I am the captain of the ship now. And can you please confirm to everyone that you are, in fact, my mom?
Indeed, I am your mum. I know that we don't sound the same. I know that I'm very fair and you're darker.
Yep.
You're taller than me.
Even though it doesn't look that way right now because you're having to sit on
a cushion. You're born in America.
Yep.
I was born in the UK, but indeed you are. I'd like to think it's because I can tell it by your heart.
Aww. You know what? I actually tell other than we might not look alike, although people do say that we have the same eyes. Maybe not the same color eyes. I always tell people that I look a lot like Dad, but I have your heart.
Oh, well, that's so sweet.
And so in a lot of ways we are completely different, but in a lot of ways we're the same.
This is how real it is. She came to me and she said,
when?
Last night you said that phrase to me, and the last part of the phrase I said, pardon me, excuse me. It still tickles me that
It's true.
I don't understand my own child sometimes. I don't have a clue what you're saying. I think accent.
I think I was saying hose, and you thought I was saying.
What were you saying again?
Hose.
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 Is that a net with an S?
Hose. You a hoe. No, not you, but I was using that as an example.
I thought you were saying hose, the water in the garden.
No, you also thought I was saying toes too, because you kept saying toes.
So. Here's a good example.
So I know, Mom, this is your first time doing something like this.
It indeed, yes.
But I know that you are a rock star.
Well, when you were giving me a talking to yesterday, when I was having a bit of a moment, you said, what would Gary Vee say to you? And I couldn't repeat it because I don't use that language. But the spirit of the message was, get on and do it.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really getting out of my comfort zone. I have never done this before. I'm in awe of what Victoria does.
People don't know me as Victoria.
Well, to me, you're Victoria.
That is right. I would kind of feel odd if you said Tori.
Yes, it doesn't sound
So
right.
that's fine. You can use it.
But I'm in awe of what you've taught yourself, and I'm just really excited to be learning from you. This is a whole new kind of thing that my age group, to be honest with you, doesn't know a lot about. And you've challenged me this year to get out of my comfort zone and do more. So this is truly me getting out of my comfort zone. Thank you for all you do to teach me.
My pleasure. It's fantastic to have you here because I know a lot of people know who you are just in the sense that you're my mom, but I think it's going to be amazing for people to actually get to know who you are and a little bit of the history and a little bit of like our history because we have been through a lot. We've been through many different seasons of life. We lived in the US and now we live here in the UK. So we are going to be talking about life in the US.
And I have no idea what you're going to ask me.
That's true. So all of this, Mom has no idea the questions, but I would really love to explore what it was like for you as an expat over in the US. And I will chime in with certain things that I saw of you and also things that I experienced in the US as well. And then we will move to the UK, literally. Did you ever see yourself moving away from England? And was it ever something that you thought would happen, or were you for sure thinking that your whole life was going to be in England?
I thought my whole life was going to be in England. I love England. As you can see, I never lost my accent on purpose because you can take the girl out of England, but you can never take England out of the girl.
Wait, do you think that's a gene thing? Because we've been here for a lot of years in the UK and people still think that I'm on vacation here. And they're always like, how did you keep your accent? And I'm always like, well, my mom, when she moved to the US and lived there for a long time, she never lost hers. So maybe it's in the genes.
Could be, or it could be that you and your brother talk American all the time.
Though his accent is slipping.
Yes.
You hear him on the phone till I work, and he says some things, and I'm like, wow, you're really getting British, Nick.
Perhaps it's all the American programs you watch.
Perhaps.
I think it could be as well. I think at a certain age, your accent sticks with you.
So you never saw yourself leaving the UK? Like a lot of people can be like, oh, one day I want to move to Australia or I want to move to the US. Was that never a thing?
No, I mean, my dad's dream for me was that I would move. My dad's dream was go and see the world, Sally. My dad had the dream for me, but I didn't have it for myself.
Explain to us all, what was the reason why you moved to the US? Like everything behind that.
Well, I married an American and his home was over there. So your dad's home was over there. So I knew that marrying would mean leaving not just my mum and dad's home, but actually emigrating and moving to the US.
How did you meet Dad? Where?
I met him at a business function in Washington, D.C. We'd flown out on the day of the royal wedding when Charles and Diana got married.
Oh, I never knew that. I never knew that you flew out that day.
Because we didn't have a lot of money. There was a whole bunch of us that were going over to the US to a conference, and the airfares out of the UK on that day was so cheap because nobody wanted to leave, everybody wanted to come here. So that's the day that we chose to leave because we could afford it.
Did you feel like moving to the US was going to be easy? Because obviously in the US and England we speak the same language, although it doesn't always sound like it. Did you feel like it was going to be a really easy move? Like honestly?
Well, I visited a couple of times.
Yeah.
So first time I visited the US, it's the era of Dynasty and Dallas. When I went there, I thought everybody would have big homes. I know it sounds very strange to think this, but I really did think big homes, big cars. Well, in America, you can make your dreams come true if you work hard. You can earn money and you can create a really good lifestyle.
But did you feel like the culture was going to be extremely different
No.
to the UK?
No.
So you felt like it was going to be a pretty easy change?
I thought it was just going to be like if I moved from where I was living to say move to London or move to Manchester or somewhere like that. I just thought, because we worked outside of the Washington DC area, it would be just like here, really.
It would be easy.
Yeah, very easy. Because I thought the same language.
No, I made the same mistake. Was it easy?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so what was the hardest thing about moving to the US, do you think?
In the UK, I didn't drive, so I could easily get into town by the bus.
Okay, that's what you used to do.
Yeah, so I used to do that. So when I moved to the US, I didn't drive, and I thought, well, this isn't a problem. I can just walk.
I see.
I almost killed myself the first time I tried this. I didn't work when I moved to the US, and so I was really lonely during the day, and I thought, well, I'll just get some shopping. So I walked to the grocery store, thinking it was not going to be too far. Well, it was much further than I thought, but also I had to go over a major...
Like highway?
Well, it wasn't like a big highway, but it was a highway.
Yeah.
You drive... I was looking the wrong way, so I forgot, because you grew up in England and you always look one way first.
But do you know what's weird is, like, even though we've lived here for a lot of years, and I will reveal that towards the end, but I still look the wrong way, even though I've lived here for longer than I lived in the US. It's really weird.
It is. So I looked the wrong way, and then I had to get over the is it median strip or something, climb over the... Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
I probably was doing something very illegal. Something I noticed, I hope I'm not going to offend any American police, but the British police, I always found you were so friendly and like, evening all, how can I help you? And the American police
Scary.
are very scary and very efficient. I'm not saying the British aren't efficient, but they're very different. And I thought, if I'm probably jaywalking, I'll probably get arrested just trying to go and get some groceries. So I made it there, but everything was different in the grocery store. It wasn't like me shopping at our local store here. So I felt really quite unsure of myself.
That must have been scary.
It was.
I'm hoping that you didn't attempt to do that, like, again after.
But I had to go home.
Yeah, but as in, like, you didn't try to do that again.
No, I didn't.
One
But I
day.
had to return home with grocery bags going across the road.
And I guess you didn't have, like, a cell phone at that point.
Victoria,
Okay, I'm just...
there
Listen,
weren't...
I also lived in the era where we didn't really have phones.
Listen, there were no cell phones.
Yeah.
No fax machines. We communicated with the telephone or by letter.
Yeah. So you couldn't, like, call Dad and ask him to
No,
come get
well, you had to have money in your pocket to use the American payphones.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't even really know what to put in the payphones.
So moving countries to the US, how did you find it without things like social media or the internet to use to know where things were, or to like join clubs, or to find people your age? Because it must have been incredibly lonely
It was.
to move over there and also not have the access that we have today with the online world. Was it hard?
It was very hard, especially as I came from a community in the south where people were very friendly. I grew up in my neighbourhood and people talked to each other. Because in the area we were living, the houses were very nice. But in America, you know, you've got those garage doors that you click
yeah.
something and they can go open and your car goes in. Well, what happens is, because the garage door opens, their car goes in, you never see people.
Yeah.
They go into their house, normally because it's either very hot or very cold, so you don't want to hang around. But there's no, like, how are you as you're going into the door, through the front door? So I didn't get to know my neighbours, so I found that very hard to be able to actually go and ask people. But what I decided was I had to make friends.
Yeah.
And my friends in America, and Barbie and Pam, you know who you are, they became family. And I'm forever grateful, because I was just a very young bride in America.
Wait, how old were you?
I was 22.
Oh, that's very young.
But I learned so much from my friends, and it's the old adage, to have a friend you need to be a friend. And I really looked for people that shared similar interests. I also joined expat groups.
Did you?
Yeah, and that was really a fantastic time for me, because a lot of the war brides who'd lived in the UK and met GIs during the Second World War, this is like in the early 80s, they were still very active.
Yeah.
And I went to some expat GI bride coffee mornings.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was really lovely. And they were really encouraging and kind. And people recommended people.
I guess because we didn't have like the online world and how we communicate now, it had to a lot of times be word of
Absolutely.
mouth. Like it's all about who you know.
Yes.
Or who knows who.
Yes, and at that time I didn't have children, so children are a great way to connect with other mums. I just went out and I talked to everybody, and the great thing about having an English accent over there, Americans on the whole like the English accent.
I do feel like Americans like the British accent more than the British like the American accent. I feel like in the experience I've had, like once they get over like, oh, she's from the US, it's kind of cool. People actually, I feel like they don't warm to me as much as the Americans warm to you with your accents.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I suppose you could say that about accents.
Accents.
But the thing that I have found,
Accents.
the thing that I have found, and this is like having moved both, I've emigrated twice. So I emigrated there, then I emigrated back to here. Your dad always said that he described the Americans and English very separately. So,
this is good actually.
Yeah, Americans have two bubbles around them. So they're very friendly when you first meet them and say, yes, great, so great to meet you. Why don't you come over and have dinner sometime? Be great to see you. You know, you'll come back now you're here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it never goes any deeper.
Yeah.
So you may have a beer with them at some point or you may talk to them, but actually to get past that first bubble into that second bubble and actually develop friendships, I found very difficult.
Oh, interesting.
Whereas here, I think the British in general have one bubble around them, and once they let you in...
Yeah, but you have to like literally pickaxe your way through that. Yes, you do.
Not all the time, but once they let you in, that's it. So Americans are outwardly very friendly when you meet them, but it doesn't always translate to, yes, I do want to get to know you. That's what I meant.
I do find that the British, having lived here for a while, they can come across as being a little bit more rude or like, I don't want to speak to you. But like you said, once you can get past that like wall, then they really warm up. Whereas the Americans, whether it's like a fake sort of nice or they are actually really just warm and nice, it's easier to at least feel like they like you straight away.
And can I say, whatever I'm saying about the US, I love the US and I love the American people. So if I'm not saying anything to be disparaging,
no, this is all just like honest talk.
It's just my journey, really.
If you are enjoying this video and podcast, it would mean the world to us if you would click on that link and also subscribe. What did you love most about living in the US?
Shopping.
Oh yeah, we are Olympic gold medalist shoppers.
We are, dear.
There we are.
When the going gets tough,
the tough go shopping.
That's right. I loved shopping in America, and it was just like the movies. This is what I found so great. The shops were open so much longer hours than over here, and it was such a fantastic experience. I remember going to Nordstrom's.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and buying shoes and. The lady said to me, oh, you look a little tired, would you like a drink? And going off to bring me coffee and making sure that you two were all right. And everything is packaged, well, it was then, packaged beautifully. They would ask you if you'd like it gift wrapped, so they put it in tissue and then in boxes. And do you remember the old films where they used to come home carrying all the boxes of
now it's just like
shopping through the door? And it was like, well, they want you to part with your money and sales.
Yeah, the Americans do sales so much better than over here.
Yes, and in America, you can ask if there's a coupon. You can ask.
I remember even doing that the last time we were there.
You can ask, well, is there a coupon for anything? Can I get a discount on this?
Wasn't it in
Macy's?
Macy's, like you got a coupon just because you were British or like foreign.
Yeah, they've stopped doing that apparently now.
Ah, so they say.
Yeah, but I loved the experience. So that sounds quite shallow, doesn't it?
No, because like, I know things have changed right now because the currency issues are completely different to how they were even 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. We used to fly over there and buy, and like not spend any money here in the UK on clothes and just wait until we flew over to the US. And then we'd literally buy like a year's worth of clothes, shoes, bags, whatever, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But now it kind of all costs the same.
Yes.
So the only good thing about it is you do get different stuff in the US, but it's going to cost the same, which kind of sucks.
The other thing I loved in the US is you can get in your car or your minivan or whatever you're driving, and you could just decide, I'm going to go to Florida, and we did that.
Yes, we did
quite a few times.
It's like an 18-hour drive or something.
Yeah, straight down to Disney World. Your dad and I took it in shifts.
I remember.
To drive, and you were sleeping in the back, but you could just get in the car and drive. We could drive to go skiing.
Yeah.
We could drive to the beach, and the roads are so straight and easy and long. You put it on
easy and long.
auto, and I remember the old big American car. I had a Cadillac at that time. It was like like a big starship, and I'm sitting, and there wasn't anything in front of me or anything behind me.
It was just road.
I just had my cruise control on, and
that must have been so cool. You can't do that here.
no.
Okay, so what did you like the least about living in the US as an expat?
Well, apart from being lonely and missing mum and dad, I couldn't watch football.
That's right, because like we didn't have the access to the channels or games like we have now.
There were very, very few opportunities to watch football on cable. I'll give you two good examples of when I had to watch games. So one was the World Cup. The only place that was showing it was in the Hilton Hotel in the city that I was living in. And so I had to buy a ticket at the hotel and then line up to get into the ballroom to watch it, because there was no cable, there's no internet to show the game. And I got to the front. I mean, I was England were playing.
You were ballsy though.
I was,
yeah.
And I was at the front of the queue because I wanted to get the great seat. And there were quite a few Brits behind me, because that's another thing. British people like to queue. We like.
Can you explain though for my American friends what a queue is? Because I didn't know when I first moved over here.
Well, a queue. I say we queue up. You say stand in line.
Or we line up.
You line up. So I'm queuing up, and we're all definitely following the rules because we're British, and there's a lot of camaraderie amongst us all waiting. And can I say the country? No, I can't. There was a group of supporters from another country that were very high-spirited and did not believe in queuing, and
so they were rude is what you're saying?
No, they weren't rude. They were very kind of just hanging around trying to come in the front.
Oh.
And I felt I had the whole of the British queue behind me saying, Sally, do not allow this to happen.
And?
We stood together, the Brits. We held the line and there was no altercations. Again, I didn't get arrested.
Would you admit it though if there was?
Of course. Okay. The second one, Arsenal were in the cup final against Newcastle, and I was desperate to watch it. And the only place that I could watch it was the British Embassy.
Ah.
So I had to get a ticket again, and it wasn't just going online getting a ticket. You know how?
Oh yes.
You have to call up and ask if they know somebody who knows somebody. Anyway.
So a little wink, wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. And I got a ticket to see Arsenal Newcastle. We won. And so, yeah, watching sport, English sport, was very difficult. But I got to enjoy American football after 4 years of watching American football games, like for 4 hours it seemed at a time, where I couldn't figure out what was going on. I remember one day it just clicked. Since then, I've really enjoyed watching American football and American sports.
The games are incredibly long though.
They are, but what I love, you can make chili, you can make popcorn, you can hang out with your friends. Yes, it's a real event. So what else didn't I like about America? There's so much to like. The houses are great. You can go swimming. Everything's convenient.
Yeah, because the houses are really nice.
They are really nice, but
over here is a big change.
Yes,
but.
There is a but. Yes, I'm not that kind. The but I'm saying is that English houses are made to last. I mean, in America, if a house has lasted 80 years, people are like, wow, that's really old. I mean, we've lived in houses that are over 300 years old. That's true. It's the food.
You didn't like the food?
No. I mean,
I think you're lying.
No, I'm not. See, I'm a very simple girl. I like good wine.
Yeah.
Nice bread, some really good cheese. The cheese was not English cheddar and all that. And
it's American cheddar. It's better. Do you like wings?
Not really. There were some great restaurants.
What was your favourite American restaurant?
I have two. Am I allowed to?
Okay, yes, you're allowed to.
Chesapeake Bay Seafood House.
Oh yes.
With
you do like your seafood.
Alaskan king crab.
Oh yes.
Shrimp.
I didn't like that so much when I was younger, but as I'm older now, yes. Give me some good crab.
And just like Forrest Gump, like shrimp. It was absolutely wonderful, the seafood, and still is over there. And the other is Italian-American restaurant.
Like a proper one?
Proper one, like Little Italy. I've been to some fabulous Little Italys in Baltimore and New York. And the recipes have been handed down. So when the grandparents or great-grandparents came from Italy, probably through New York, they took their recipes with them. They started little restaurants, and families kept those going.
Yeah.
So
it was good quality food.
Yes, that's kind of like a question I liked and I didn't like. But American portions are too big.
Yes, but I think when we lived over there, they didn't seem big until we came over here.
But I was much larger before I came here. back here.
I can't say the same.
American food sometimes can be on quantity.
Yes, not
rather than
quality.
quality.
Yeah, I would agree.
Thank you.
But I don't like British food. I'm sorry.
Really?
I don't know.
You don't like my cooking?
I was gonna make a joke, but I won't. You don't really cook British food. I don't think.
You don't like roast dinners?
No.
How can you be my daughter?
Give me some
roast
wings.
dinners?
Give me some wings. Give me some like Mexican food or hot food. I do like Asian food actually. So I recall when I was younger watching you use a fax machine to write to grandma and grandpa. And I know that wasn't the case when you first moved over there to the U.S. as an expat, but I would say maybe the last 10 years you were there or so. I don't know.
It probably was less than 10 years.
Yeah, maybe.
But I remember the wonder of getting a fax machine, and my mum and dad had a fax machine, and they wrote just like "Hello Sally" or something like that, and they put it in and it came out the other end. I thought this is life-changing.
It's magic.
It was actually fantastic because you could write letters to grandma and grandpa and we could put them through the fax machine. But I also had a very early cell phone.
Oh.
It was so big, it was like having a handbag.
It was like one of those.
Yes,
large
but
ones.
to have a portable one, we had a handbag carrying case.
Yeah.
And it charged in there, and it was like a brick.
Yeah.
So it was huge, and you had to pull up the antenna, but just to be able to call my mum and dad. Because our phone bills, my mum would tell you, back in the 80s, she was paying £400 a month to speak to me on the phone.
I never knew that.
There was no cheap international calling.
£400 back then is like a fortune.
Yep.
Holy moly.
Yeah, we spoke to each other every day.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess that's why you and I are close, because you had a close relationship with your mom.
Indeed, it's
And I was able to see that.
Just that sense of being able to be connected, and because it wasn't that easy just to, it's too expensive just to jump on a plane and come home.
Yeah, true. What is something you wish you would have known before you decided to move to the US to be with Dad? Either piece of wisdom or piece of information that you wish you had known before you moved over to the US.
I wish I'd been more confident in myself. I lost my confidence a bit because...
When you moved?
Yeah,
Why?
moving over there. Because being in the UK, I was swimming in the pond that I was familiar with. In the US, it's such a vast country.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was living in more of the South, in America, where women were expected to smile, keep the house nice and clean and tidy, have the children, have the food on the table. And I'm not saying any of that's wrong, but I wanted to create a career. I wanted to create a business. I wanted to go forward. And people kept telling me, but.
Yeah.
And it was because I was married and you had to let your husband take the lead role. And I wish I had been more confident, because I was very young.
You were very young.
I wish I'd been more confident in my abilities, and I wish I had carved out more of my role in business over there.
Do you feel like there was this pressure of being like the perfect housewife or the perfect mom, and how that looked in your house or your marriage or your kids? Like, did you feel like there was a lot more pressure?
Oh yes, especially in the 80s. This is when books and magazines, this is how we learnt about what...
Yeah.
and
because we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have the internet.
Okay, on TV, yes, but it was the era of Wonder Woman. It was, in the 80s, it seemed like the bigger the shoulder pads got.
I remember you had some large shoulder
I did have
pads.
some large shoulder pads. I was like a linebacker in American football. But it was like the bigger the shoulder pads, the more that was to be powerful and to be able to do anything. And I agreed that yes, it was very empowering for women, but it was also exhausting, because you were expected to give the perfect children's birthday parties, be able to cook the perfect meal, keep the perfect home, basically be Wonder Woman. And then I was even told, can I say this?
I don't know.
I was even told, right, after all the days done, you still need to look fresh and made up and welcoming at night for your husband, because he will have been tired.
Can I ask you a question? Wasn't there some piece of advice that you should meet your husband with cling film wrapped around you?
There was a book. There was a book called The Total Woman. Now stop it. I never did this.
Unless I don't need to know that.
I never did this.
I don't need to know that.
You've had to use an awful lot of cling film.
That was like the sort of like, you were meant to, after a hard day of taking care of the kids and the house, you were meant to just present yourself.
You were meant to change your clothes before you got home, put perfume on, freshen up your makeup, look attractive, so that when he walked in the door, yes. And I was like, I'm tired. I've been running around after children. I've been, I'm tired as well.
You did a great job because you were a full-time mom and you did a great job. And I think people don't realize that being a full-time mom is an extremely hard job. Yeah. And just because someone doesn't go to a 9-to-5 job, it doesn't mean that they don't work hard at home. It's not like you were just relaxing at home. You were looking after us, but you were nurturing us. You were helping us. And
I even homeschooled you for a while, which is another story, another day. Because American education is very different to English education.
It really is.
Imagine trying to teach American history.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I remember so vividly us doing history and you having to do it from the viewpoint of the Americans. Whereas, obviously, there was a little bit of conflict at some point in the history between the UK and the US. Was that hard?
It was, because the War of Independence, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. I'd never heard of that. And seriously, before I moved to America, I went to 4th of July party and people coming up to me and saying, it's great to have a token redcoat here. And I didn't know what a redcoat was. I'd never heard of the War of Independence because I learnt in school Tudor and Stuart, Middle Ages, all that kind of history.
Like medieval knights and stuff like that.
Because our history in the UK is
it's much larger.
Much larger. So I'd never heard this. And when I heard that we'd lost a war, I said, this can't be true. This can't be true at all. They must have got it wrong. But anyway, yes, I had to teach that. And how on earth can maths be so different?
But the thing is, it's math over there. It's not
maths.
It's matha.
Maths.
No, it's math, not maths.
So why do you say herb when it's herb? H-E-R-B?
Honestly, for that one, I don't know. I much prefer saying herb because that's the way it looks. I don't know about saying herb. Yes.
Oh, say one more word for me. I find this so cute. I know. Should we not say that?
Wait, what word are you thinking?
Say squirrel.
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 Squirrel. You say squirrel. Would you like to go see my squirrel? And I say, do you want to go see my squirrel?
The curriculum was so different. But anyway, we did it. You survived. I survived.
You actually did really good.
Thank you. But we lived in a particular neighbourhood. Can I tell this story?
Sure, yeah.
We lived in this particular neighbourhood. It was a bit like Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, I guess it was a bit like that.
We lived in a cul-de-sac like that, and the neighbourhood was beautiful houses, and every Christmas they took 5 or 6 different houses in the neighbourhood and they opened them up for all the neighbourhood to go in and look at all the wonderful Christmas decorations and the way the house was decorated, or the decor, as they say in America. And you have to understand, I came from the perspective of my house. There were toys everywhere. There was, you know, how you just throw everything in a cupboard and you close it and you hope nobody ever
like
opens
a normal,
it. Like a normal house. And my house was just like, go out, close the door, and because I actually preferred living life rather than having to do housework.
I mean, our house wasn't like extremely.
No, but
it was lived in, I guess, is what.
But it wasn't ideal homes and gardens. The families that lived in these houses, they would go away for the weekend to let teams of cleaners come in and for the women of the house to go in and decorate. And if I tell you, these are huge homes. Every room was decorated for Christmas.
Yes.
There were Christmas trees in every room, weren't there?
Yes. Unless you were actually there, you could not imagine the perfectionist just mindset of these houses. They looked fake. They did not look like homes. They looked like showrooms that someone had put inside of a home. And it did not, for me as a child, I don't know about you being a little bit older, or a lot older, it was not appealing. It made me feel like I couldn't move, touch, breathe, or do anything in that house.
It actually made me feel quite a failure.
Really?
Yeah, because we were on a really fixed budget, and for me, Christmas decorations were always treasured, the ones that you got out that you made and Nick made, and things that have been passed down. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did love it. It was like going into homes that could have been in any of the American Christmas movies like Home Alone, but any of those kind of like dreamy films. So they were beautiful, and
it was too much.
But it did make me think I could never live up
to that
standard.
Expectation.
The standard was there, and I felt it was out of reach, and I did feel a failure.
Aw, that's actually really sad. Do you have any advice for brides or maybe even grooms that are moving to a different country to be with their loved one?
First piece of advice would be yourself. Take your country with you, because I think you bring something wonderful and unique to that family. So never think that you have to lose you and change just to fit in, because I think you need to be uniquely you and bring the wonderful culture and heritage that you've been brought up with. Make friends.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean, and I know you can make online friends now, so please, I'm not just saying don't do that, but physically go out and make friends. It is so important.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be quite daunting, especially if you don't know the language. Understand that some countries will speak totally different languages from maybe your home country.
That must be very hard.
It must be very hard. What else would I do? Learn to drive.
Straight away?
I wish I had.
So if you moved over there when you were around 21-ish.
I moved 22.
22?
Yes.
How old were you when you passed your driving test?
Okay. I left it too late. I was pregnant after a year of marriage.
Oh, you and Dad worked fast.
Yeah, well, he offered me, because I was so homesick, he said to me, Sally, you can either have a dog or a baby. What would you like? So
Thank God for Nick that you chose the baby.
I chose a baby, otherwise Nick would have been a golden Labrador. So anyway, I was 8 months pregnant, and I knew that I had to be able to get around.
Yeah.
And you can feel terribly isolated and cut off
if you can't drive.
If you can't drive.
You can't leave, you can't move around, yeah.
So I learnt to drive in a great big Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham, which is massive. Your dad taught me to drive.
Did he?
Yeah, which was interesting for our relationship. But he said, I'm sure you're fine to go and pass your test. So I go into the
DMV?
DMV, yeah.
DMV.
And just had to do a very simple questions about the road over there. And they said, right, well, let's come and get in your car. I waddled to the car, managed to get my tummy behind the thing, and literally the guy just had me drive around the block and park the car back where I left it, and he said, you passed.
That is so unfair, because when I had to learn over here in the UK, I actually had to take mine in one of the hardest places in the UK. You have to do so much, you have to do everything perfectly, and if you don't do anything perfectly, then you automatically fail. So you just literally had to get in the car, drive around the block, park, and then leave.
However, 16 years later, when I emigrated back here,
True.
my American license wouldn't work over here permanently, so I had to take a British driving test.
That is true, so I guess you had to experience it for yourself.
I've experienced it for myself, but driving, because it gives you independence.
Okay.
I wish I'd gone to work, and I know that sounds strange,
No.
because I think even if I'd got a part-time job, I'd have met more people, and I would have experienced the work culture more, because I was still working from home myself. But most of all, be yourself.
I like what you said about taking a piece of your country with you.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people try and blend in too much. They try and just assume the culture that they're now in. And I think it's so important to keep who you are.
Yes.
A big part of how you present yourself, how you raise your kids, how you do all of that. And I'm really glad that eventually that's what happened actually for us.
Yeah, and celebrate your uniqueness.
Yeah.
And with that, you'll get confidence, and I'm sure a lot more people want to employ you because of that special something that you have.
Yeah, very good. Now, Mom, did you ever get asked to say certain words in your accent? Because this is why I say this. When I first moved over here, in the first couple years of school, when I was still seen as cool just because I had an American accent, people would literally stop me, even years and years after. They'd be like, can you just say this word? Can you just say this? Can you just say a line from this, but in your accent? Did that ever happen to you?
Yes, it did. People just love the British accent.
It's true.
There.
That is true.
And I used it to my advantage.
Same.
I know that when I was on the phone, maybe I was having a difficult conversation, I was trying to get something done, either like I was talking to a particular company and they weren't doing what I needed them to do. At the time, Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister, and I found that if I spoke very slowly and deliberately, very British, suddenly I would get what I wanted. All the things that they said they couldn't do, suddenly, because I very politely was persistent in my very British accent, which was put on a bit.
You do have a very British, like Queen's English accent, though.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I do remember several people asked me, because in those days we only had house phones, and they actually had me come over to their companies and do their answer machine for them.
Like the greeting.
The greeting. So it's me greeting them on behalf of the company.
In your British accent?
In my British accent.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
Yeah, so that was nice. But I did get into trouble because some words in American means something different over here. But I remember, fills me with dread, but I asked a good friend of ours that he was going to an office supply store. Remember the big old whiteboards?
Yeah.
Where I used to use them a lot to do presentations. I said, could you pick me up a box of rubbers, please? He went, excuse me, ma'am? And I said, could you pick me up a box of rubbers? And he went, white as a sheet. And he said, what do you mean? And then I realised in America it was an eraser. Is it razor?
Eraser.
Eraser. I needed a box of erasers.
Oh, that's true. It is called...
Those board rubbers.
Yeah.
Well, in England we had chalkboards and you rubbed out the board with your board rubber. Why do you call it an eraser?
Do you know, at school I would always say like eraser and they were like, oh, you mean rubber? I mean, no, I'm going to erase this. They're like, no, you mean rub it out. I know for me, for even a long time, for years when we moved over here to the UK, I would say pants to mean trousers. I used to say that I would go take off my pants and they were like, what? When really pants means underwear here. And yes, you shouldn't broadcast that.
I remember also, because my dad, he always had some great one-liners, and he was always encouraging people. And this is, and my dad used to, if I was down, he used to say this particular phrase to me. So I remember a guy I was dealing with in business was really down. I said, don't worry, keep your pecker up. He looked at me. I said, it's okay, it's going to be okay, keep your pecker up. And see, in England, that means, come on, keep going, you can do it.
What does it mean here? Oh, what does it mean in the US?
I have no idea.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
What do you think that means?
Well,
someone.
Well, I obviously can guess, but I'm not going to say it.
Keep your pecker up, right?
Yes, you can say that in England. Yeah. I wouldn't say it in America. No. Can you think of any others?
Can I think of any others? Yes. I don't think I can say it though.
Oh no.
No, I don't think I can say it.
Is that the pack?
Yes.
The bum bag.
A fanny pack.
Oh, you can't say that.
Is it? I can't say it in the UK or I can't say it in the US.
Oh, Victoria. You can't say that because your fanny in America is your butt, your backside.
Yep.
And I'm...
and it means here, the front side.
That's right. So you know how you wear, especially these bags...
It used to be really popular in like the 80s, 90s.
When people were wearing those shell suits.
Yeah, yes.
You'd wear a bum bag.
Or a fanny pack.
Depending on what country.
Yes. But, you know, this is the issue that I have. Sometimes I get so confused as to what words are what that I think I'm saying something I'm allowed to say here. And actually, because I've been here for so long, but I'm still very American, I end up saying the wrong thing. I get so, in my mind, if you could like see it, it's like a lightning hailstorm happening. And I'm thinking, what word do I use? What is the right thing to say? Let me not say the wrong like thing. And even that normal, I'm so confused now. Is it on my car, is it my windshield or is it my windscreen? Yeah, boot, trunk. Boot or trunk. Trash, bin. And I say I'm going to go and put gas in the car. Yeah, but I mean, we still say gas. We don't really say petrol so much. No, we just have different words and that's okay. You know, every language is great on its own. And I think it's important to enjoy the humor of it. Like, if you're an expat somewhere, it's okay if you use the wrong word, because honestly, people find it endearing. Was there something that you really, really, really miss about the UK? Like, specifically?
I miss the pubs.
Okay.
And the difference in America is, and this is from my own perspective, I used to love going to the pubs. You could meet your friends there. We'd meet up, then go to another pub, and then another pub, and just have a really good time. Or go to a pub here on a Sunday and have a nice Sunday roast, and just meet up. And very sociable. You can have very modern pubs, but also fantastic old ones with the Inglenook fireplace. In America, bars were very dark. To me, dark places that people go to drink.
But also, a lot of the bars centered around sports, because those are some of the places that you could go and actually watch certain games.
Yeah, but back in the 80s, there weren't even that many sports bars. 80s and 90s, it was very much like you see.
You just go drink.
Yeah, they line up, there's the barman, shots. I mean, sadly, since COVID, a lot of pubs have had to shut.
Yeah, a lot of good ones, like old school... proper pubs.
But in every village, every small town, you would have the church and the pub. And if you've noticed, they're always very close to each other.
Yeah.
Within walking distance. I miss the villages.
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate to live in some fabulous villages since we've moved back here. You know, that small community, I really miss that. I always missed England. I've always missed the US. I'm like a stick of rock. If Americans won't know what I'm talking about, but the English will. I've got England all the way through me.
That's very good. I like that. Especially if you know what that means.
I do.
Okay, so here's a quick question. Was there ever something that you did, like a ritual, or you like to eat a certain something when you felt homesick? Like for me, when I'm homesick for the US, I buy American candy off of Amazon, and
the jelly beans. The
hot tamales.
The hot tamales.
Red Hots.
The...
Reese's.
The Reese's.
Yes, okay. This is not about me. Did you have anything that you like to go and do, or something that you like to go and eat to make yourself feel more connected to England?
I did. I couldn't buy it, so it was sent over. So something I used to eat to make me feel connected was Marmite.
Oh.
For those of you who've never tried Marmite before, you'll either love it or hate it.
Do they have that in the US?
No, but on a lovely piece of toast with butter and then Marmite on the top, it's my comfort food.
It's like you're eating cement.
No, it's lovely. The other thing is chocolate, Cadbury's chocolate.
Yes.
Because American chocolate is vile.
It's different.
Oh.
Apart from Reese's.
Oh.
British do chocolate really well. Cadbury's, mwah.
And Galaxy I now like as well.
I think Galaxy's too sweet.
And all of that, my mum and dad used to have to send me over in a care package. But to cheer myself up, because we live near Dulles Airport, near Washington DC, I used to drive out to the airport once a week to get a British newspaper.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah?
Yes.
They condensed a whole week's news into one newspaper, because we didn't have the internet, nothing like that. So the only way I could keep up with football was, and I would drive home with my newspaper, and I treasured it. It was like, I loved it. The other thing I used to do was, remember Borders?
I was about to say that. So there was a point where you could then get that at Borders Books.
Yeah. So
I remember that so vividly.
Then I'd go to Borders Books.
Yeah, with us.
With you.
Yes.
Make sure that you were fine, and the kids there, get a coffee, and they would have not only the English newspaper, but they would have the royalty magazine, because I was a huge Princess Diana, still am, fan. Yeah. She was a year younger than me. She had her children around the same time as me, and I just loved her. I admired her. I even saw her when she came and visited the US, so I actually got to see her.
That's amazing.
Which was, and I was on the American TV.
Were you?
You didn't know?
Oh wait, no, I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
because
I was so excited. A VHS tape.
I remember when we used to go and you used to get your newspapers and royal stuff, and you also used to go get Hello magazine.
That was it. Hello magazine.
Yes, but I used to get American Girl magazine when you got your Hello, and we used to sit there and read it. And that was our treat. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes. You know what? It is the little things actually that mean most, and I do think that it's sad now that everything's done. People are always on their phones, and they're just looking at their phones for everything. And still,
you look at yours now.
Well, yeah, no, I do look at my phone, but the fact is, I still love books.
Yeah. Would you like to tell everyone the story of how you told?
Oh my!
No. Would you like to tell everyone how you told Nick and I that we were moving to the UK? You can say it from your perspective, and I will say it from a perspective that I had when I was younger.
Okay. Here's the truth. This is a bit like the War of Independence. You're going to hear the British side and the American side. So I was in America 16 years. For at least the first 10 years, I prayed every day. I said, God, please get me back to England. Please, please, please get me back to England. I was so homesick. And then the last 6 years, I kind of got into the rhythm of life more.
Yeah.
I think having you two and being able to do football with you.
Soccer,
which you were very good at it. I had the home that I'd always dreamed of.
we had a really nice house.
I was driving the car that I wanted, and life was good. And I remember Thanksgiving morning, your dad just saying to me when we were having coffee, you were probably off watching cartoons or something, Sally, if you could live anywhere, where would you like to live? Because he could take early retirement. And I thought, well, he's going to say California, Florida, Texas. So I was thinking of all of these. And out of the blue, he said, I think we should move to England. Well, I was excited and shocked all in one go. And I actually thought maybe I hadn't heard right. And he said, no, I think we should move to England. So I was ecstatic. But then I thought, how do we tell the young munchkins in our family what we're going to be doing?
And how did you see it play out from your view?
I thought you were going to sit there and you were
No, when did it happen?
At the Thanksgiving meal.
At Thanksgiving.
So I prepared the American Thanksgiving meal and we're sitting around the table and your dad said, we've got something we want to share with you. We thought that you'd be so excited and happy. And
for me, my perspective was I think I was around 9 years old at that point, and I was 10.
You're 10.
10. And I was in the perfect school. I loved my school. I had all my friends.
You were in private school?
Yes, but it was a great school, and I enjoyed it. I was thriving. I played soccer. We had a great team, a great community.
You were on the travel team?
Yes, we traveled around and it was amazing and I was so happy. And then all of a sudden, we were eating Thanksgiving turkey and I remember you and Dad just blurting it out. And I remember being hit with shock and then just crying into my food, sobbing into my food.
I'm so sorry.
And part of me was thinking, well, this is a terrible time to tell me life-shattering news that we're moving when I'm trying to swallow my turkey. I recall being extremely sad, extremely upset, not really, I don't know. I just remember crying and I remember thinking life is never going to be the same. And I know Nick had a different reaction because he wasn't super enjoying school and I think he just was up for an adventure and I wasn't. And yeah, it was very, very hard. Were you apprehensive or scared about moving back home once you and Dad decided this is what you were going to do?
Yes, I was.
Why?
I was used to the American life.
Yeah.
My friends, fantastic friends that I had in America. Lifestyle. I didn't know how I was going to fit back into the UK. I really didn't. I was concerned about the cost of housing over here.
Yeah.
Because in America you can get fantastic houses.
For such a small price compared to here.
And so we would have to go right back to the beginning.
Yeah, we did.
In the housing market. I wasn't under any illusion that we would probably be giving up a lot to eventually gain, but it would be a really tough journey. And it was. Do you remember when we sold the house?
Yeah, that's actually my next question. What was the actual process of moving like? Because I know we had to sell the house and that happened from a kid's view much quicker than I thought it would. And all of a sudden we had to live in a hotel.
Well, buying and selling a house in America is wonderful.
Yeah, it's quick.
I do wish that they could have the same system over here in the UK. So our house sold within a week.
Yeah.
So we had to pack up and decide what we were going to move.
But what about the thing about people coming into the house?
Oh, to buy the stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we knew that by the time that you, anyone who's moved countries knows that you have to look at an item, especially furniture, and think, do I like it that much to pay for it to go into a shipping container or storage to be shipped to another country, or could I buy
The same thing
actually
over there.
So we decided that we weren't going to move furniture. So we had what is known as not just a yard sale, but a house sale.
Yeah. I remember coming over here, having experienced what proper like yard sales are in the US, and you could literally buy anything. We used to buy bikes because when you're a kid that's growing, you like will only last on your bike for a very short amount of time before you outgrow it. So I recall us constantly buying bikes that were almost new,
Fantastic.
super cheap at yard sales, and then coming over here. And what are they called here? A jumbo sale?
Or I think they do have garage sales, but it's nothing.
No,
like
my
that.
gosh. When you come over to the UK and they say they're having a yard sale or garage sale or a jumbo sale, what they mean is they have put a little box outside of their house of junk, of crap. And
No, it's not always like that.
oh, it is. It's just awful. A little box, and you have to pay money if you want anything out of the box, but it's just rubbish.
I mean, the American yard sales are fantastic. We bought skis from there, we bought furniture. It's also a great way of recycling and being able to sell things on. Because don't forget, there wasn't eBay then.
Yes.
Everything was done with yard sales. So we decided to have the yard sale of all yard sales.
Yes.
We would open the house up and people could come in and buy anything that they saw. I remember a man came in. I felt so sorry for him. His wife had just left him, and literally he'd come home and she'd even taken the light bulbs out of the sockets, taken all the furniture. He had nothing. So he came in, he said, well, I'll take that bedroom,
So he literally just came in and bought rooms.
Bought rooms. And got a truck and took our furniture. And then, so he took what he wanted, and then there were some other people that came.
You're trying not to be offensive.
and they bought loads of stuff, but they didn't have, there's lots of them, and they didn't have much transport. But you know how you see in the cartoons ants carrying a picnic, and the ants are walking along and carrying the picnic bits? Well, out of our house, I saw mattresses and beds and everything, and people were carrying it, walking down the street.
So one night we had beds and things to sleep on, and I swear the next night
we slept on the floor.
We had nothing. I'm thinking, what have my parents done? We haven't even moved yet.
But it's how you market it. So I said, it's an adventure. We're going to camp out.
And I guess when you're young, you'll buy anything.
Yeah.
Because the house sold so quickly, didn't we end up having to move into a hotel?
Yes, we did.
Was that on the cards as the plan, or no?
No, we thought we were going to be able to sell the house and then leave quite soon after that. But the house sold very quickly, sold within a week. And so we had to move to a hotel that had it didn't even have a kitchen. So we took our clothes, we put some of the stuff, our treasured keepsakes, we put into a storage place, and your dad was going to get that sent over by sea another time. Yeah, we stayed for a week in this hotel, the four of us.
Because we were still in school at that point.
You were still in school.
Yeah.
You know, we knew that we would do whatever just to get through things. And you can do anything when you have to get through things.
Yeah.
But it felt very strange not to have a home anymore and be living out my suitcase. But then wonderful friends of ours, Danny and Pam, came to visit us and took one look at how we were living.
I remember.
And said, you're not living like this. And so for the next 8 weeks, I think it was about 8 weeks.
I think it was about 8 weeks.
They opened their home and took the four of us.
Which is, a lot.
Into their home and just really loved on us. And
I'll never forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a real lesson in that today, as well, because there are a lot of people, I'm sorry. Thinking of the Ukrainian. Many people have moved over here with nothing, just their suitcases. But particularly I'm thinking of the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
And people have taken them into their homes.
Yeah.
It means so much.
Yeah, it's a lot. But it can also mean a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you keep your eyes out for the next episode where we will be exploring what it was like moving from the US for you as an expat and moving back home, and also what it was like for me to actually become an expat in the UK. So we look forward to seeing you then.